Hello everyone, welcome to Vision Dev, and in this video we are going to build this healthcare role-based access control RAG application. Okay, so what this role-based access control mean? It means that the PDF that we'll upload as per role, user will get access to it. Okay, let me show you with the demo. So first, in the username, I'll create a username as, let's say, Sharma. Okay, Sharma is the username. Password for Sharma is 12345. Okay, and he is an admin. All right, signing up. So sign up successful. Now you can log in. Now to see the data, we are using MongoDB. Okay, I'll refresh this database, and here you could see we have created this Sharma username. Role is admin. Okay. So now we'll log in with the password of Sharma is 12345 and username is Sharma. Alright, now I'll log in. So Sharma password will be 12345. Okay, login. Alright, so never role admin. I can log out, upload PDF for specific role, ask a healthcare question. Now here is the part. Okay, only admin can upload document. Okay, like a doctor, nurse, they can. So you could see here we have role of doctor, nurse, patient, or any other staff. Okay, so only admin can upload a PDF document. Okay, and only this role can ask a query about that. Okay, so I'll simple upload a document as, let's say, this diabetes PDF. I'll upload this PDF, upload the document. It will give me a message that the uploading has been complete. You see, uploaded diabetes PDF, and it is also generating a doc ID for me to access the PDF. Okay, and access doctor, and for our and to save those database and to save those embedding, we are using Pinecone vector DB, is RBAC medical index. Okay, here we have total record of 53 coin because I have also uploaded document in the previous before. Okay, all right, so now doctor has the option, right? Now I'll log out, I'll sign up as someone else. So let's say Misra 12345. I'll log in as a doctor. Okay, so Misra 12345. So sign up, success, login, Misra 12345, login. See, welcome Misra. Role is a doctor. Ask a healthcare question. So a doctor won't be able to upload PDF question like PDF documents for someone. Okay, now for a diabetes PDF, the first question would be, what is diabetes? I'll send the query, and you see, according to the World Health Organization, diabetes is a chronic disease. All those document, all the information, and it is also giving me the link from the from the PDF. Okay, and this is the source from where we are getting this information. All right, so this is what we're going to build, and we have deployed this application, like the front end in the Streamlit cloud, and the backend has been deployed in my render. All right, okay. So before we start with the coding part, let me just revise our RAG concept first. Okay, so this is the diagram that I generally use to explain the RAG concept. So from the left side, you could see we are uploading the document. So as per our application, admin will upload this document with assigning to a particular role. Right now, this document will be extracting into text chunks. Now here in this diagram, you could see we have image chunk, but in the application we are only using text embeddings. Okay, So we'll extract the text and we'll divide it into multiple chunks. We'll pass those chunks through an embedding model, and then we'll create an embedding vector of those chunks, and we'll store them into our Pinecone vector database. Right? So from left side is done. Now from the right side, if you see, a user will pass a query. Now that query will also get converted into an embedding. Okay, like an embedding vector. Then we'll pass that embedding vector through our Pinecone database to extract the relevant information. Okay, so we are extracting relevant information from our Pinecone vector database as per our user's embedding query. Okay, now from there we'll be having those relevant information. Then we'll create a proper context with our system prompt, and we'll pass those proper context into our LLM, and LLM will give us the proper answer as per the query. Okay, so this is a simple workflow of how RAG works. Simple. Now as per our application, if I have to tell you our application flow, first user authenticates with like logs in or signs up. Then user sends a query to the chatbot. If user is an admin, the user will have the option for uploading document, but if user is not an admin, then it can ask a query. Okay, now that query is converted into an embedding model, as I've said earlier. Then that embedding is used to search for relevant documents. Then those results are filtered based on the user role. Like for nurse have access to some specific documents, doctor some specific document, patient only their patient reports, MRI reports, all those documents. Then filter results are formatted into this context. Then then context is sent to the LLM for our processing. Then LLM will generate a response as per those given context. Now, as I've said, if the role is an admin, then admin will be able to upload a document, and then document is embedded and stored in our Pinecone vector database. Okay, so this is how our application flow will work. And one more thing, we'll have multiple roles. We have admin, patient, doctor, and nurse, right? So admin, of course, sign up, login, uploading documents, managing user. Managing user mean only to give access role, like only to give access user for a particular documents. Okay, patient, again, only a patient can log in and ask question, that's it. Doctor can log in and ask query and get answer. For nurse, same, log in and asking query, simple. Okay, and one more thing I want to say, I have created this project report properly. Project overview, objective, our tech stack that we are using for our front-end utilities, our system architecture, our core modules that we are using, our all API endpoints with this description and role. Then what do you mean by role-based access control? So our every role with its capabilities. Okay, and these are the future enhancement that I might do, or you might want to add it into it. Okay, and so that's why if you are open to contribute for this future enhancement. Okay, so just clone the repo or just fork the repo, create a new branch, and add your new feature and give a PR. I'll check that. Okay, all right, so now get into the code. Okay, all right, so we'll be using Pinecone for our vector database. Okay, and we'll be taking Google API keys so that we can use Google AI Embeddings, and Groq for our LLM application, for our LLM responses, and we'll use MongoDB where we'll store our user, like through which we'll use that user authentication of sign up, login, all that part. Okay, so saying that, I'll come here, and here I'll first need to initialize an UV project. So UV init with folder name, let's say server. Okay, all right, now I'll get under server, cd server. Here I need to initialize a virtual environment, so UV PENV. Okay, all right, now I need to activate, so venv slash script slash activate. Okay, now it's done. Now the first thing we need to do there, we need to install those dependencies. So here I'll add requirement. So requirements.txt. Okay, now this is the dependencies that we need to install. We need to install FastAPI, UVCon, Python multipart for file uploads, then the whole LangChain ecosystem of LangChain, LangChain community, LangChain core, and LangChain Groq for our LLM response. Okay, for vector store we need to install Pinecone, and don't install LangChain-Pinecone because that's been depreciated. Okay, so you have to change your other versions as well. For embedding we need to install LangChain Google GenAI. Then for PDF person PyPDF, for environment variables Python.env. Then for our database schema we'll be using Pydantic model, request, and TQDM for other typing and utilities. Okay, we are using MongoDB to store our user name or role password, so we need to use PyMongo so that we can use that, and Bcrypt to hash our user password. Okay, I'll save this, and to install this requirement.txt I'll copy this command uv pip install -r requirement.txt. I'll paste it over here, enter. Okay, so now let's talk about what we'll do first. First we'll create the server, like the whole backend for our user authentication. Okay, after creating the authentication we'll create the front end of that, and then we'll code for our vector database, how to upload PDF, how to parse those PDF, how to generate embedding, all those things. Okay, the installation is done. So now let us test with a simple FastAPI server that the installation is working or not. So that's why here I'll simply import FastAPI, then from that FastAPI, then initialize a simple FastAPI server. So FastAPI server, then create a simple get endpoint. So app.get my endpoint will be /health to check the health of the server. Okay, then the function def simple health check, where I'll return a simple message as message would be okay. Okay, save this. I'll run this application with uv, not in caps, uvcon main. My FastAPI name is app, like my FastAPI app name is app. So __ --- reload, so that it automatically reload everything that I'll be changing on that. Reload, enter. You see FastAPI running at this 8000 port. I'll copy this port, come back to my Postman. Here I'll create a new blank collection. So a blank collection, I'll name it as RBAC medical assistant. All right, now here I'll add a new request. New request, I'll change this to health check. Okay, here I'll paste the endpoint health. Okay, now I'll send it. You see message is okay. Okay, now we need to create the module for our authentication, right? So for that, in my MongoDB I'll create a new project. Okay, so and I'll name this as RBAC made. Okay, a small name, RBAC is made. I won't change anything, I just click on this next. Project owner me, sure, create the project. All done. Now we need to create a user, sorry, we need to create a cluster. So create a cluster, Everything is sure. We'll be using the free tier, and be careful over here. Okay, we'll choose the free tier, then you don't have to choose, then you don't have to change anything. Then just simple, after clicking in this free tier, click in the deployment, create deployment, and here this is our username and this is the password. I'll copy the password, I'll come over here, and here what I'll do, I'll create a .env file, .env, and I'll just add it right here. Okay, now all right, so I'll create database user. Okay, now choose a connection method. Here I'll click on this driver, and here is my MongoDB URI. So I'll copy this one. Here I'll paste it as Mongo URI. Okay, Mongo URI. This one, I don't need this anymore. Okay, this one is done. Now done. All right, now we'll come to this cluster. We have this cluster, and to see the collection we need to click in this browse collection, and here we'll create our database. Okay, so now let's come to this VS Code. Here we need to add another thing, which is our database name, because this is the Mongo URI, the link. Now we need to have a DB name, right? So DB name, I'll give it as, let's say, RBAC users. Okay, now in the main file, not in the main file actually, now I need to extract this information into my application. So here I'll create a new folder as, let's say, config. Okay, config folder, under which I'll use db.py. all right, let me just stop the server. Okay, now here what we'll do, we'll import OS, then from .env we'll import load.env, from PyMongo I need to import Mongo client. Okay, all right, now I'll call my load.env function, and then Mongo URI, here os.getenv, Mongo URI, and DB name os.getenv, and here we'll use our DB name. Okay, all right, now I need to initialize our Mongo client. So client, I'll call my Mongo client over here. Under this Mongo client I need to pass my Mongo URI, and then I need to initialize the DB. So DB, here again I'll use the client. Which DB? This particular DB, because in one cluster you might have multiple database, right? So client and this particular database name, and then in that particular database you need to create a collection. In users collection I'll store DB users. Okay, so under my RBAC medic, like under this particular project RBAC med, I have a cluster as cluster 0. In this cluster 0 I have a database with the name of this RBAC users. under this RBAC users, I'll be have a collection as users where I'll store the user's name. Okay, you might want to create a new collection where you want to store the chat that the user is asking to our application. Okay, and I'll simply save this one. And now we need to create the data model in which format this data will be passing through our front-end backend. Okay, all right. So now for that, I'll create a new folder as auth, because it all comes under the authentication. So auth, here I'll create a new file as models.py. Okay, and here we'll be using Pydantic. So from Pydantic, I need to import base model. So what is the base model? Base model. Okay, now how to initialize a particular base model? We need to define a class. Let's say this is for our sign up request. So sign up request, I need to use the base model over here. Then I need to define the schema. So we'll be taking username in the format of string, then password again in the format of string, and we need to get the role, which will be also in the format of string. Okay, so my model.py is done. Now this password, we have to hash this password, because we can't, of course we can't expose this password with this real form. So that's why we'll create a new file as hash utils.py. okay, so I'll simply import the Bcrypt.js which I'm using to hash my password. So Bcrypt. Okay, now here I need to create two functions. So def, first I need to hash the password. Hash the password, we'll use password will be in the form of string and will return in the form of string. Okay, in the form of string colon, and now I'll simply return Bcrypt dot hash the passwords to hash pw, hashing the password. Then I need to pass the password dot, I'll be encoding with UTF-8 format, so encode with the format of UTF-8. okay, and then I need to pass, and then I need to kind of generate those salt, like you would see that a password being hashed in a multiple gibberish format. So to generate that, Bcrypt dot gen salt. Okay, and after that, simple, we'll use to decode this whole password, we'll use again UTF-8. okay, so this is what we'll be returning, and then we need to verify the password. So verify password, here we'll pass our password in the format of string. Also we need to pass the hashed format, like the hashed password, also in the string, and we'll return in the format of bool. okay, so simple return dot Bcrypt dot, here I'll use check password to check pw. I'll simply pass password dot encode again in the form of UTF-8, and sorry, it will be form of 8, and then I need to hash it. So hashed dot encode, I need to pass UTF-8. okay, so first function will help me to hash my password, and the second function will help me to verify that the user, like when user is trying to log in, that password is perfect or not, so we need to verify those password. Okay, all right, that's been done. Now we need to define our routes. Okay, so again in this folder I'll create routes.py. So I'll first import my FastAPI. So FastAPI, from there I need to import API router. So API router, then HTTP exception, so exception, and the depends, right? And then from FastAPI dot security, we need to import our HTTP basic and HTTP basic credentials. All right, and now from our other modules we need to import, let's say from models we need to import our sign up request, and from hash utils we need to import both, so this hash password and this verify password. Okay, and from the config module, from config dot db, right, db, we need to import users collection where we'll store those data. Okay, now we need to initialize the router, so router API router. Okay, now we need to initialize the security, which will be HTTP basic. Okay, now the first function will be to authenticate. Authenticate. Okay, pass. Then we need to create our sign up endpoint, and we need to create our login endpoint. Okay, all right, now for this authenticate function, to authenticate, first what we need to pass, we need to pass the credentials, right? So I'll pass the credentials with HTTP basic credentials, and which would be depends on the security with this HTTP basic security. Okay, now of course I don't need pass, and here I'll first define the user. So with the collection of users, collection dot, I need to use this find one where I'll find with this username. Okay, and to get that I'll use credentials dot username. Okay, all right, so this is how I'll check that the username that and the user is giving to authenticate, it is already exist or not, like for the login purpose. All right, so you know what, I'll create this module later. First let us create the sign up module, because this authenticate module is pretty much connected to this login module. So first for this sign up route, we'll define a router post. So router dot post, let's say sign up. Okay, now in the sign up we'll request our sign up request, because that's the format where we'll pass our data. Okay, now if users collection dot find one, now again I'll use this username dot request dot username. Okay, so if user collection dot find name mean if it is exist, so we need to raise an error as HTTP exception with the status code of 400 with the message that user already exists. Okay, and if the user doesn't, then we need to add that. So users collection, I'll use insert one. So insert one here. I'll pass in which format I'll be taking the data. So it will be within underscore. So username request dot username dot username comma, and then password. Here I'll use request dot password, but here is the main thing, we need to hash it, right? So I'll call the function my hash password. I'll keep that inside this hash password function. Okay, then I need the role, so role, which would be simple request dot role. Okay, now after that we need to return a message. The message would be simple message that user created successfully. Okay, so this is how we can easily sign up any user. And now I need to log in. Now for login I need to authenticate, so that's why let's finish this authenticate function where we have already taken our username. Okay, now need to give a simple check if not user, mean if the user doesn't exist, right? If not user or not verify password, mean if the username doesn't exist or the verify password, that particular function mean in the hash utils in this bool, if the bool returns a false, then okay, so or not verify password mean the password is returning false, mean the not true. Okay, for not verify password with this particular credentials dot password with user password. Okay, then what I'll do, I'll simply raise an exception, so HTTP exception with the status code of 401 because the mistake is from the client side. Okay, not from the server side, so that's why 400. Then details invalid credential. Okay, and otherwise we'll simply return that particular username. User of username, and we also need to return the role because the role is what we'll be using further for our further application. Okay, and to get the role you need to use user role. Okay, we are returning this from our authenticate function. Now come to our login. In this login we need to define the route, so @route dot, this is a get one, so get slash login. Now here I'll simply cut this pass out, and here I'll pass the user, so user, I'll use the depends where I'll simply pass my authenticate function. Okay, This has been done. Then I'll simply return a simple message, as message would be welcome. Let's say user. Of course, for the username, so username and I need to pass also the role. So this role would be user with role. Okay, so and this will be router, not route. Router dot get login, def login message welcome user and the role. Okay, so our authenticate function is done, our sign up function is done, and our login function is done. Now we need to add them into our main file. There is some error. Here is the error. Sure, here will be a comma. Okay, done. Now let's come to our main.py file. Okay, and here we need to merge it. So here what I'll do, from our auth dot this routes, we need to import those router, and we'll use that as an auth router, as an alias auth router. Okay, now this is our fast API. Now I'll simply comment out this one. I'll comment out all of that. Okay, now here I'll simply call my router. So app dot need to use include router. Include router. So include router, where I'll pass my auth router. Okay, I'll save this and let us run the application. Again, it's saying some error. It's saying cannot import name HTTP exception from the, okay. Yeah, it would be in smaller case. So we need to change this exception into smaller case. Okay. Exception done. Let's see. No module name models. So here, let's try it with dot in the beginning. Save. Yes, done. Okay. So now let's come to our postman and let's create a new request again. Okay, we'll add a request as sign up. Right here I'll use this endpoint and I'll use sign up, and of course this will be post. Okay, let's see our sign up post. Okay, now here's the fact that we can't just pass the JSON body. Okay, so this is something that you need to make sure of. Coming to this authorization and select the basic auth. Okay, and here you see I have tested it before, so I'll be using this username of Essence Protein, and I'm using this password pass123. Okay, let's try it out. Send. It's saying some error. All right, I think for the sign up we don't need to use the authorization part because we need to pass 3 as a JSON body. So in JSON I here click the raw, and here I'll use this format. Username, let's say, then password 123 and role, I'll make myself the admin, so admin. Okay, let's try this out. Sure. So the authorization format is used for the login. I just mistake that. I have mistaken that. Okay, so you just get it successfully. Now let's go to our MongoDB. I'll refresh this page. See, we have this our database as RBAC user. Under that we have this collection of users, and this is my user. We have this gibberish format of the password, and the role is admin. Now let us test this with login. So um, let me try with another thing. Okay, try. Yeah, it's working. Okay, sure. So then we'll create a new one, duplicate this, and here I'll make it as login. Okay, so I'll change this to login. Here I'll come to this authorization part, make it to basic auth in Supratim. Password would be same. Okay, I'm sending this internal server error. Oh, there is some problem here. Sure. Raise attribute error. Type name object has no attribute. Authenticate. So the problem is in authenticate. So let's see credential. HTTP basic credential depend security. Line 18. So if not user or not verify password, credentials dot password. The spelling is wrong. It will be password 0. Password like oh, not 0. Password user password. Okay, I'll save this one. Come to Postman. I'll send it. You see, welcome SN Supratim, role admin. So I'll refresh this again, and you see we have these two user. Okay, both are the admin. So I want only one admin, so I'll just delete this one. Delete. Okay, done. All right. So our whole authentication of user is done. All right, so now after creating this authentication module, now we need to create the module for our uploading vector store, like uploading document to our vector store, right? So I'll create a new folder to keep those modules separate. Docs. Within this docs folder, I'll create a file as vectorstore.py where I'll define the logic of how to connect with our Pinecone instance and how to load and document to our vector store with embedding. Okay, so first I need to import couple of dependencies. So we need to install Pinecone serverless spec, tqdm for those processing bar, pathlib import path to have the path for each and every pdf, then PyPDF loader which will help us to upload our PDF, then recursive character text splitter to split the PDF's document into multiple chunk like that for this text splitter. And we are using Google generative AI embedding, and the reason we are using Google generative AI embedding and not some Hugging Face embedding because we are going to deploy this backend application in render, and in render in the free tier it only gives us the CPU of 512 MB. Now if you use half of that by just installing the Hugging Face embedding model in the server, it will just what do you say spikes up within a second. So it gets pretty troubling, so it's troublesome time to deploy your model. Okay, so it's better to use some API based embedding model. Okay, so now after that, as we need to get our Pinecone environment variables, so we need to call our load.env. Okay, now we need to get those variables. So first our Google API key, for that get env, where we'll pass Google API key. Okay, and then I'll simply copy this one and I'll paste it multiple time. Okay, now the second one would be for our Pinecone API key. Pinecone API key. I'll change this one as well. So Pinecone. Now I need to have Pinecone environment. So Pinecone env. Okay, and I have added all that in my .env file. Okay, so Pinecone env, and the last one would be, as in our Pinecone database, we need to create an index for each and every like for each and every time. So this time Pinecone index name. Okay, Pinecone index name. All right, and after that we'll simply take in our environment for this Google API key. So os.environ will use Google API key, which is Google API key. Now we need to define an upload directory where we'll initially store our uploaded documents. Okay, so upload directory, and I'll name it as slash uploaded docs. Okay, and after that we need to create the directory. So make dirs, and here I'll simply pass the name of the directory, which will be dir upload directory, and we need to make sure keys exist. Okay, true. Like we don't have to create this directory every time. If it's present in the application, it doesn't have to create it again and again. Okay, all right, now our task is to connect our application with our Pinecone instance. So we'll simply initialize a Pinecone instance. So pc Pinecone, where I'll pass my API key to connect. So API key, and I'll pass my Pinecone API key. Okay, then as we are using the free tier of Pinecone, so we need to use the serverless spec. So spec here, I need to call my serverless function, serverless spec, where I need to specify our parameters. So we are using AWS, and we need to pass our region. Okay, so region would be our Pinecone environment, which is US East 1. Okay, server source serverless. Okay, now as you could see in my Pinecone index, I have already have this RBAC medical index, which where I was trying this application before I record the video, right? So like the main thing is we can't create another index with the same name. Okay, so we need to give a different name. So to have the different name, we have to add the logic that the new index I want to create, is it already exist in my Pinecone database or not. Okay, so that's why I first need to extract my existing index. So existing index, here I'll run a simple loop. So for every iteration in my particular Pinecone dot list indexes. Okay, from this I need to retrieve something. So I'll retrieve the name of those indexes. Okay, got it. Now if there is no existing index with the name, I'll simply create one. So let's do that. If Pinecone index name simple, not in my existing index, then what I'll do, I'll reuse this create index function, create index, where I'll pass the parameter of name Pinecone index name. Then I need to pass the dimension, which is 768. And why 768? Because Google embedding model of embedding 001 returns an embedding vector with the dimension of 768. If you are using Hugging Face all mini, like all mini LM model, that gives us, I think, 364 or something like that. Okay, so just check what embedding model you are using. For Cohere it's a bit different, so just check it out. And for the metric we are using dot product. You can also use cosine as per your wish. Okay, now for serverless spec we'll use our serverless spec configuration because we are using the AWS version. And then, as creating a index might take a time, so we need to give our application so some bit of relaxation time. Okay, so for that we'll run a loop, a while loop, while not dot pc dot describe index, while not dot so pc dot describe index of this particular index status ready. So, and if I don't get the status ready for my particular index that I want to create, I'll just give it a relaxation time of 1 second. Sleep 1 second. Okay, now I need to create the index, like I need to add the index. So index, I'll call my Pinecone instance and I'll simply call index and I'll pass my Pinecone index. Okay, so in index I have stored the key to my Pinecone index option. Okay, so that is done. If I just run this file now, it will automatically create a Pinecone index in my database. Okay, but before that we'll simply create the function through which we'll upload our document to our vector store. Okay, so for that what I'll do, I'll just create a function over here. If you want you can, easily create a different module for that, but I'm just creating it over here. So the name would be loading the vector store. Okay, now we need to figure out key what will pass to this function. We'll pass our uploaded files, and yeah, so uploaded files, right? Uploaded files. And what will pass the role, because see, remember in the demo, because admin will upload the file with also the mentioning the which role will have the access for that particular updated file. So we need to pass the parameter, like the argument of role. So role would be in the format of string and the doc id, so that user understand key from which PDF document he's getting the information. So doc id string. Done. All right, so the first thing we need to do, that let's get our embedding model in the play. Okay, so embed model, here I'll call my Google generative AI embedding model, and here I'll name the model, which is model slash embedding 001. So I'm using this embedding model of Google, and then I need to make, then what I need to do, I need to save the uploaded file in a particular path. Why? I'll be telling that a bit later. So for file in uploaded file, because I might upload multiple files. Okay, so for file in the uploaded files, right? Files, I'll have a variable as save path, where I'll use this path function and I'll pass the upload directory where I'll be storing my PDFs, slash file dot file name. Okay, and then I need to open this with open. I'll pass the save path directory, save path it should be writable. So writable as if, then if dot write file dot file read. Okay, this is how I'll be upload, like after uploading the document, it is keeping that in the uploaded directory, and it is giving it a particular path. Now why I need to have it in a path? Because the module we are using, this PyPDF loader module, it requires a path for our uploaded document so that it can process that. So I'll create a variable loader where I'll call the function PyPDF loader, and I'll simply pass the our save paths with the string format. So save path loader, it will load that, and then I'll retrieve it in my documents, call the loader dot load. Okay, so now in this document variable I have my uploaded PDF. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to split it into multiple chunk, right? So for that I'll simply initialize a variable as splitter. I'll call this recursive character splitter function. Here I'll pass some parameter as chunk size. Chunk size, let's say 500, and chunk overlap, let's say 100. Okay, and if you don't know what chunk overlap mean, let's say there is this line, uh, yeah, let's say this line embed model Google generative AI embedding. Okay, and you are telling me to chunk it with 25 with 20 characters. Okay, so what you need to do, embed embed 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20. So the first 20 chunk is coming up to this, but it doesn't make any sense now. This embed model only making a sense, so that's why we are overlapping chunks, so that we don't we don't chunk a particular statement from the middle. Okay, all right. So after that what we'll do, we'll take our chunks. So in chunks I'll call this splitter, I'll call this split document, splitter dot split the documents, where I'll simply pass my documents. Okay, I passed my documents, and then I need to store the page content into a variable, let's say in texts, where I'll run a loop to extract those page content. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll run a loop as for loop chunk in all those chunks, and what I'll retrieve, I'll simply retrieve that chunk dot that particular page content. Okay, page content. So right now in my text I have those page content. Now as we are also retrieving the doc ID, so I need to create an ID for each and every text. So let's say IDs here. What I'll do, for every ID in in the range of the length of the chunk, what I'll retrieve, I'll simply retrieve that particular doc ID in the format of -I. Okay, all right. So here I have the ID. Now I need to extract the metadata to figure out key from which index I have this retrieved document. So metadata, to have that, to get a dictionary like this. Sorry, not like, let's create it properly here. Okay, now first I need the source, and to get the source it's pretty simple. I need to write file.filename to get the file name. and then I also need the doc ID. So doc ID will be simple, again doc ID, and then I need the role, of course. For role, again simple role, and last is the page. To get that, we'll use chunk dot metadata. Then I will use this get function from which particular page number 0. Okay, now this is the retrieved information. Okay, so now for iteration and chunk, I'll in enumerate. So enumerate of all those chunks, I'm retrieving the chunk and I through the metadata. Okay, and then simple will pass some print statement as embedding this particular length of texts. Okay, chunk, and then we need to embedding. So in embeddings, I'll call my embed model dot embed documents. So documents, and where I'll pass my texts. Okay, so embeddings embed model dot embed documents. Now simple another statement which would be uploading to Pinecone. Okay, all right, now we need to show that progress bar that it is uploading. So that's why we'll use tqdm, which will help us to show that progress bar. I'll define that progress bar definition. So total length would be up to the embeddings, and I need to provide the description. So upserting to Pinecone, okay, as progress, so that I can use it again in the code. Now index dot upsert, I'll pass the vectors in the form with a zip, where I'll pass the IDs and embeddings and metadata. All right, not metadatas. Okay, and then for the progress bar, progress dot I'll update up to the length of embedding. Okay, length of embeddings. All right, and then at last it's a simple print statement to show that is done. So upload complete for this particular file. So file dot file name. For this particular file dot file name, I need to use an f string. Okay, that's done. I'll simply save this, and now we'll come to our Pinecone to upload a simple PDF. Okay, so now after that we need to define the API endpoint for this uploading vector store part, or this for this module. So I'll get a new file as routes.py for this document. Okay, and here I'll simply need to import couple of things. So from FastAPI, I need to import API router. So API router, then depends upload file, from and HTTP exception. Okay, and from auth dot routes, I need to import authenticate, and from vector store, I need to import this load vector store module. Okay, now let's initialize the router. So router, call the API router. Done. Now I need to define the port. So @router, it will be a post method. So router dot post endpoint will be upload docs. Okay, then the function with def upload docs. Okay, now here I need to pass my logic. So what do you need to pass first is which user is using, because remember, who can upload PDF? Only the admin. So we need to make sure that who is trying to use that endpoint, he has been logging as an admin. Okay, so in user I need to get that. It is called if user depends on particular the return of this function authenticate. Now if you remember, authenticate function returns a boolean, like either it's a true or false. So I think it's this one, routes. You see, authenticate, in authenticate it is returning, oh no, it's returning the username and the role, right? Sorry, so it's returning the user. So I'm taking the user in this user variable, and then I need to get that uploaded file. So upload file, I'll call this file, and it could be multiple files. So that, then I need to pass the role. Okay, so which is will be a string, and we'll take it in a from format. Okay, now this I need to create. Now I need to give the logic that which user, like for what user this function will be able. So if user of the role is not admin, then I'll be simply giving a raise error, like an error. Okay, there is some problem. Wait, so let's enter it. So if it's, so admin should be under quotation. Okay, now yeah, now so we'll simply raise an error. So http exception with status code 403, because the problem has been made by the user, not by the server. So I need to write a message that only admin can upload files. Okay, now let's now with this logic we need to, like when we'll be uploading the document, we need to call our load vector store function, but we also need to retrieve the doc id. So like not retrieve, we need to give the doc id. So doc id, I'll simply use uuid dot t4. Okay, there's gotta be some problem. I have an import uuid. Okay, so I have given every document a document id. Then I'll simply call the load vector store function, where I'll pass my file, and I'll pass the role and doc id. Okay, and then I'll simply return a message. So return simple message of with an f string as file name this successfully, with and the doc id for this. So It should stop here. This quotation should finish here. Then I need to give the doc ID. Okay, and also need to mention for whom it is accessible to. That particular role. Okay, that's it. Thing is done. Okay, now we need to add this route to our main.py where we are adding all the routes. So in main.py file, I'll add the router. So I'll just copy this one, paste it over here, and I need to import that. So from docs dot routes, I'll import router as docs router. Okay, then simple here I'll pass my docs router. Okay, done. Then simple I'll run the application. So uvcon main app reload. Let's see. All right, I've run the application again, and it's saying that there is some error in the Pinecone. So vector store, it's saying access control expose header, resource cloud AWS region none not found. So sure, I haven't added the wrong name. Okay, Pinecone env. Now it should work. All right, so you see we have application startup complete. So now it will work. In my Postman, I'll add a new username as doctor. All right, user created successfully. If we come to MongoDB, I'll refresh the page and we should see another, like we will see another user. Here we go. Okay, so let's upload a document. So as a login, what I'll do, I'll log in as an SN Supratim who is happen to be an admin. So see, welcome to SN Supratim role admin. Okay, now I need to upload the document, right? So what I'll do, I'll change this as of now. My API endpoint for upload document is upload docs. Okay, so what I'll do, upload docs, I'll change it to post method. Okay, and then in this header I need to provide the values. Okay, not in header, sorry, in the body we'll use this from data. Okay, now here I'll pass the file. So file, and this would be file, and let's pass this diabetes PDF, which is having to be a pretty small one. Then here we'll pass the role. Okay, I think this file should be in small caps. It would be in small caps. So file. Now here we need to pass the role. So let's say this diabetes for the doctor, because this is the, because that's the user that we have created, right, with the doctor. So a doctor, let's send it. Let's see our terminal. Yeah, there is an error. All right, so we are having one problem with this, and it's saying that there is no current event loop in the thread. So I think the problem we are having that, see, when we are calling this particular endpoint, now this endpoint is doing two things, right? Like here, this endpoint is doing two things. One, it is calling a function, this load vector store. Second, when it is calling this function vector store, in this vector store it is calling another API, this Google Generative AI Embedding, and somehow we haven't used that async await mechanism to make it into the sync. So that's why it's saying that there is some, you see, there is no current event loop in the thread. Okay, so it's a pretty bad mistake. I'm sorry for that. We shouldn't have done that. So what we'll do, we'll simply import a module called Asensio. Okay, and I'll simply add, make it an async await function. So async, and here when we are calling it this embedding model, here what we'll do, I'll keep it under a function. So we'll simply pass text over here. Okay, now what we'll do, we'll make it await. So await Asensio dot to thread. Okay, so we are keeping this generative AI embedding model into the thread. So first I'll call my vector store, then it will call that particular embedding model, and then it will upload that. So everything will be in sync now. Okay, and with that I also need to make it async await. So async, and this load vector store, I'll just simply make it await. Okay, I'll save this one, and I'll save this one. Is there any error? All right, see, started the server process, application startup complete. Now we'll come here, we'll send it. You see, embedding 20 chunk. Okay, so now it's uploading the chunk. All right, so we'll come into our Pinecone, we'll refresh this, and here you could see this RBAC made. Okay, we'll click into this. You see record count 20. Okay, capacity mode serverless, type 10, dimension 768, metric dot product, cloud, AWS, region US East 1, and all of our indexes. Okay, now yeah, sure, and this is for the role doctor. Okay, so now what we'll do, we'll create our chat endpoint with our function of how to ask a query and how to process the query, and then we'll test this as well. Okay, so let's do that. So now for this chat query part, so again we'll create a new folder as chat. Okay, where we'll create a file as chat query.py. Okay, here we'll import couple of dependencies as Asensio.env from like load.env, Pinecone, Google Generative AI Embeddings, and all this thing. Okay, and here what we need to do, first call our load.env function, then we need to get all our environment variables. So from this vector store I'll just copy all of them, copy, I'll paste it over here. I also need this environment as well, copy, paste it. Okay, now initialize the, like, connect with the Pinecone, passing my API key, which is Pinecone API key. Sorry, it will be API. Okay, all right. Now after this we need to have our index. So index pc dot index, where we'll pass our Pinecone index. All right, now we need to define our embed model. So I'll come into my vector store, I'll copy this one, and I'll paste it over here. Okay, now after that we need to have our LLM. So LLM will call chat Groq. Here we'll pass the temperature that we want to use. The spelling is wrong, I guess. Temperature. No, it's alright. Temperature, let me keep it at 0.3, bit of low. Then model name, keep it LLaMA 3 8192 hyphen, not 8192, it was, let's say, 8 billion parameter of that, like that model. Then 8192, then pass my Groq API key, which is, oh, we haven't taken Groq here, right? So we don't want this Pinecone environment, so here I'll retrieve the Groq API key. Groq API key again. Groq API key. Okay, all right. So then simply call the Groq API key. All right, done. Now I need to define the prompt that I'll be using. So prompt, I'll call the prompt template dot from template. Okay, and here I'll use a simple doc string to use my prompt. Okay, so the prompt I'll use is, let's say, you are helpful healthcare assistant. Answer the following question. Answer the following question based only on the provided context. Okay, now after that I need to provide it the question. So question, which is indeed this question, and for context I'll keep it as context. Okay, and at last, to sum it up, what we'll write, include the document source if relevant in your answer, because we also want to see that from which document this application is retrieving the information. Okay, that's why. So the prompt template is done. Then simply define our RAG chain. So RAG chain will be my prompt, then the LLM. Okay, now I need to define the function that will help us for answer our query. So it will be an async function. So async def answer query, where we'll pass our query in the form of string. We'll pass the user role in the form of string. Then first we need to get our embedding model. So embedding, here I need to use the await again, which I said key first we are calling the function, then the function is calling its API again. So we need to keep all these tasks in a sync. So asyncio dot to thread, and there I'll pass the embed model dot that particular embed query comma query. Okay, now here is the problem. We need to change this to embed query. No, embed model is there. No, it's all right. So embed model dot our embed query, then query. Okay, Now we need to retrieve our results. So results, again it will be an await, again our asyncio dot to thread, and here I need to invoke so the particular index query, then my particular vector embedding, then because see after embedding the query we need to retrieve the relevant information, right? So from vector we need to retrieve this embedding, then we need to retrieve the top relevant chunk. Let's say I am retrieving 3 top relevant chunk, okay? Then I also need to get the include metadata, let's say true, okay? Result is done. Now I need to filter those context. So filtered context, let's send an empty list, and source, let's say a set of empty set, okay? Now I need to get that, so for that I'll simply run a loop for match in those result matches, mean when my as per the query my information has been matched, okay? So in the matches I need to get the metadata, so metadata where I'll store the match of metadata, okay? And if metadata dot get, I need to get the role user role, right? Then filtered context, because you need to understand that our admin is uploading the PDF with assigning the particular user, so we need to make sure that whenever we are retrieving document that user have the access for that document, okay? So filtered dot context, here I'll simply append, so append the metadata dot get filtered, right? So the spelling is wrong. Filtered context dot metadata dot get, I need to get the text over here, otherwise, and by default an empty string, and then making it /n, okay? All right, so filtered context is here. Now I need to add the sources, so sources dot add, as per the information retrieved I need to get the metadata, so metadata dot get source, okay? So now I have my filtered context and my sources. Now outside of the loop, if I haven't received any filtered context, I'll simply return a simple message as that no relevant info found, okay? And finally I need to get in the docs text join my filtered context, okay? Now for the final answer, where I'll pass this this document text as a context and my query as a question, okay? So again I need to use asyncio dot to thread, because here we are calling our Groq API. So I'll first pass the RAG chain dot invoke, then I need to pass the dictionary of our question, which is my query, and context, which is this particular docs text, okay? And we'll simply return answer final answer dot content, and for the sources we'll return the list of sources. Okay, all right, here we go. So my chat query.py module is done. Now I'll create a new file over here as routes.py under this chat folder, and here I need to import from FastAPI. I need to import again my API router. My API router depends and form. Then from auth dot routes import authenticate from chat dot chat query. I'm importing the answer query. Okay, now simply initialize the router. So API router, and then let's define our route. So router dot, it will be a post of /chat, it will be a /chat, and then again we need to use our async def chat. Will pass our user with, and this user should depends on the authenticate value. Okay, then for message we'll pass in the form of string from object, then simply we'll return our answer query. We'll pass the message and user role. All right, so we are passing the message, and again for async we need to make it await. Okay, async await. All right, let's no, again there is some error. Async await. What's gonna be error? No, it's all right. Application startup complete. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll simply make it a duplicate, or not really a duplicate. What I'll do, I'll add a new request. Okay, add a new request, and I'll make it chat. Okay, here I'll use this health, but I make it chat. Sorry, chat. It will be in the form of post. Okay, then we'll come to body form data. Okay, so here we need to pass the message and we need to pass the value. So let's say we have uploaded a document of diabetes. So what is diabetes? But here is the thing, we first need to log in as a doctor, because only doctor can have the access for this diabetes. Okay, so first what we'll do, first I'll change this to get, and I'll change this to login, and I'll come to this authorization. I'll select the basic auth, and here if you come to this sign up, you see SN Supratim. So I'll copy this, pass 1 2 3 4. Okay, so here that, and 1 2 3 4. Okay, so let's log in. So welcome SN Supratim Nag doctor. Now in this body change this to post chat send. All right, it's saying not found. Why? Here we go. Not found. We have done that blunder, right? We haven't added this router into this main.py. So what we'll do for right? So what we'll do for that, from chat dot routes import router as let's say chat router. Okay, then I'll copy this one, I'll paste it over here, I'll change it into chat, save, and then we'll come to Postman, and here we'll send this message of what is diabetes, and let's see. Okay, so according to the World Health Organization, diabetes is a chronic disease, all those things from this diabetes.pdf. Okay, now let's try it with a different thing. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll sign up as a nurse. Okay. Now I'll make it 5, and I change this name doctor to nurse. Well, like male nurse is there. Okay, let's send it. User created successfully. We'll come over here, we'll do this refresh. Okay, so snag is a nurse. So now in this chat I'll first have to log in, so get login as a snag, it will be 5, right? Send, welcome snag nurse. Okay, now I'll ask the question because I actually don't have the access for this, so we are testing that. Okay, so chat. Okay, now I'll send this, and no relevant information found. Okay, so that was for the whole backend part. The backend is done, all the API testing is done. Okay, so now what we'll do, we'll create the Streamlit frontend and then we'll deploy. Okay, so now we'll create the frontend. Okay, so for that, what we'll do, we'll simply create a new folder over here as client, under which we'll create this requirements.txt, where we'll write Streamlit and requests. Okay, done. And you also need a .env, where we'll use our API URL. Okay, all right, and this URL will be generally this one, this up to this 8,000. Okay, and when we'll deploy, we'll change that to our deployed backend. Okay, now first thing first, let's create a new terminal, and first thing is we need to get inside client folder, simple again, uv init dot Then create a virtual environment, so UVVNV, that's it. Then VENV slash script slash activate. Okay. Okay. So now we need to install that, and to install that we have this command uv wait when this uv pip install requirement.txt, right? So I'll paste it over here. That's it. Okay. So we have only this two dependency, this Streamlit and request. Okay. So now you can easily create the front end also with the modular concept, but I'll just I'll just do with this main.py file. Okay. I won't create it modular. Then first we need to import Streamlit as ht. Then we need to import request to handle our API requests, and then from request dot auth will import our http basic auth. Okay. Now, oh sorry, we need to install Python env as well. So let's try one thing. From .env import load.env. Load.env we are calling this. So here API URL, okay, os dot get, so I need to get the os as well, os, so os dot get env. Here I need my API URL, right? Perfect. And API URL is for me this one. Okay. So API URL is, now what we'll do, we first need to set our page configuration. So ht dot set page config. We need to pass our page title. So page title here, we'll give the page title as healthcare role-based access control RAG chatbot. Okay. And layout, I'll make it centered. Okay. All right, now let us run the application first. So Streamlit run, and one thing what I'll do, ht dot right here, I'll pass the API URL. Okay. So now ht run main.py. Okay, let's see. It's saying no module name dot env. Yeah, actually I didn't install that, right? So python.env, what we'll do, we'll stop it. We run this requirement.txt one more time. That's it. It's added. Now we'll run the file and let's see. Okay, and we'll just simply refresh and okay, so the .env is working now. That's why we could see this backend API URL. Okay, all right. So what is the main? Is the main.py? I'll cut this. Okay, now first thing we need to do that we need to initialize our session state. Okay, so now the first thing we need to do is that we need to initialize our session state. Okay, so session state initialization. Okay, now what we'll do, if we have a particular username, it's like if username not in the ht.session state, then we'll initialize a session. So ht.session state dot username initialize with blank, then ht.session state dot password of again initialize with blank, ht.session state dot role start with blank, then ht.session state dot logged in, will initialize it with false, then ht.session state dot mode, I'll keep the mode as auth because first the user have to go through the authentication module. Okay, all right, so this will be my session state initialization. Now I need to make sure about my auth header. So auth header, here I'll define a function as def get auth to initialize the authentication part. So return http basic auth ht.session not session state, session state dot username. Okay, and also I need to get session state dot password. Okay, now for user to use this authentication we need a proper auth UI. So auth UI, here what we'll do, we'll define a function as auth UI. Okay, and let's give it a title as healthcare RBAC RAG. Okay, here we go. Then ht dot subheader, here we'll pass login or sign up. Sign up s should be in caps. Okay, then as we have seen in the demo, we have two tabs in between which we are switching. So that's why we need to create this tab 1 and tab 2. Okay, then ht dot tabs, under which I'll use my login, and this one would be under list format. So login and sign up. Okay, so tab 1 tab 2 is ht dot tabs, my login and sign up tab. Now the first one is my login tab, so I need to open this with tab 1, and my tab 1 mean the login. Okay, now here what we'll do, here user will provide my username, which is ht dot through and text input. So text input, where you share user will give me the input with a key as login user. Okay, I also need user. I also need password. So ht dot text input. Here I'll take password with a keyword, not a keyword, with the type of password. Then I'll mention the keyword as login pass, which I'll use later to use my username and password. Okay, now after putting that name like username and password, user will click on the login button. So if ht dot button, which is login, if user have clicked the button, then in the response I need to get the request. So request dot get, because the login method was a get method, right? So get f string, I'll use my API URL here. Then I need to use this slash, then login. So this is my API endpoint for login. Okay, then I need to make sure about the auth, where I'll HTTP basic auth, where I'll pass username and password. Okay, and that's why we created this function. You see, this return HTTP basic auth, where we are passing username and password. This define get auth function. Okay, so auth HTTP basic auth. All right, now we need to initialize. Now we need to update the session. The session that we have initialized here, we need to update the session as per this login information. Okay, so if the respond status code has been 200 mean the API request has been successful, then I'll update user data in res.json. Then what I'll do, I'll simple copy this one and I'll paste it over here. Okay, all right, so here I need to change the username to username the indentation is wrong. Okay, all right, so this one will be the password. This one will be user data, which I'm retrieving as a JSON format. I need the role. Okay, then the logged in should be true, and now this auth mode will be the chat mode. Okay, then show a simple success, ht success, where we'll show that welcome that particular username. Okay, fine. Then simple ht rerun, because we need to rerun the whole application with this updated state. Okay, ht dot rerun. All right, and else, not with that, with this, else simple ht error res.json dot get all the detail and I need to show a message as login failed. Okay, and so this is all for this tab 1, right? Now what I'll do, I'll copy this one, okay, and we'll create our tab 2, right? Now for this tab 2, here I can't use username, because if someone is using the tab 2, because that means he's signing up for the first time to sign up. So for that I want to take the, like, I want to keep his name as a new user. So new user ht dot input, it will be new username, and this login user will be sign up user. This login pass will be sign up pass. Password, this will be new password, and this will be new password, or rather make it pass to make it short. And user will also add the role, right? So we need to add role text input. Here I'll give it choose role. Okay, now rather this will use a list where we'll use the option. So you want to be an admin or an doctor or a nurse or a patient or other. There was to be a closing bracket. Okay, so this is how we'll take that which role are these users from: admin, doctor, nurse, patient, or other. Okay, then if user is clicking the sign up button after that, so if ht button sign up request dot all this thing, but here we need to define the payload, because here we are using the post method. So we need to define the payload first. In payload I'll define what we are passing. So we are passing username as new user, we are passing password as new pass, and we are passing role as new role, right? New role. So this is the payload. Then the respond with request dot, and this one will be post post API URL. This one will be sign up auth. We don't need the authentication part because we are passing the data to the MongoDB. So we need to define our payload. So JSON payload. Okay, that's it. Then if res.status code is 200, then I'll simply showcase the success that sign up successful, you can log in. Okay, then I don't need to rerun. And else res.json detail, it would be sign up failed. Okay, sign up failed. That's it. All right, so our tab 1 tab 2 is done. What we'll do, we'll come to our backend. We'll run the backend first. Let's run the backend. Here we have in our front end. We'll simply refresh the front end. Sure, we haven't created the main flow of the application, so that's why you couldn't see anything. Okay, so let us create the main flow of the application. So main flow, what we'll do, if not session state dot logged in, then run this auth UI. Okay, and else ht dot title welcome c dot session state dot username. Okay, and ht dot markdown with the particular role with simple asterisk, pass our ht dot session state dot role. Okay, now let's see. It should show me the tabs first. You see, healthcare, RBAC RAG. We have these two tabs, sign up and login. Yes, backend is running, I guess. Sure. Here is the problem. You see, the choose role is not hasn't been done properly. So let's see the problem. So in the sign up box, what we have done, choose role, it won't be a text input, it will be a select box. Okay, now if we refresh this page again, okay, for the sign up, you see I can choose anything. So let me create a new name. So let's say I don't know why I'm using this name, but a username should be in one name, right? So Rajesh, let's make it 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, and I'll make him a patient. Okay, sign up. It's saying not found. That's the problem. Again, there happens to be some error. Okay. See the problem. Sign up. Sorry. So here I'll use Rajesh 1 2 3 4 5. Should be patient. Sign up. It should work. Sign up successful. You can log in. Let's see into our MongoDB. Okay, Rajesh is a patient now. Now, if Rajesh wants to log in, Rajesh 1 2 3 4 5, log in, role patient. Okay, the doc string is showing here. Why? Yeah, I should finish the doc string here, right? Yeah, I didn't finish the asterisk. All right, it will work. Okay, Now what we'll do, we need to create the module for our upload PDF, which will be for only admin, and then our chat interface. Okay, we'll create our upload PDF module, which is for only our admin and our chat interface. Okay, I am writing this as a function, but you can easily segregate this in a module. Okay, so upload PDF, which will be only for admin only. Okay, perfect. Now how do we do that, right? First, define a function def upload docs, simple function. Okay, first thing we need a simple subheader to mention what is this. So upload PDF for specific role, right? Now I'll store the uploaded file over here. So uploaded file ht dot, I'll use file uploader, where choose a PDF file. Okay, and the type I'm only taking as of now PDF. You can also extend it into docs, CSV. Okay, now role for the doc, because admin have to mention that for this particular, like if admin is uploading the if admin is uploading a patient's report, then only that patient should get the information from the reporter, not the nurse, not the doctor. Okay, so ht dot, I'll use this select box, where I need to pass key target role for docs. Okay, then I'll simply copy this list and I'll paste it over here, and I just have to cut this admin. So doctor, nurse, patient, doctor, like patient and other. Okay, so after that, there is an error, this one. Okay, now what we need to do, after that user will submit to the button of upload document. So ht dot button, right? Button, it will say upload document. Okay, then if uploaded file, will pass our files. So files, here we'll use file, which will be our uploaded file. So our uploaded file dot, we need to get the name of them there, and then again uploaded file dot, we need to get the value. So we are getting the value, and we'll make sure that this is an application JSON. So application JSON, sorry, not JSON, PDF. Okay, so this is how I'll store my files. Then for the data, I'll give the data of the role. So role for the doc, and then I'll take my response here. I'll use the request dot, it's again a post, and in post I'll pass an f string, our API URL slash upload docs. Okay, then I'll pass the files, which is the files, and we need to pass the data, like how we have passed the payload now. And here I am passing the payload in a segregating way. Then auth, I'll use the get auth function. Okay, This is how I'll store the request. Then if this race dot status code happens to be 200, then what I'll do, I'll take the doc info as race.json, mean I have to read the JSON file that's been returned by this API. Then I need to simple pass the success that uploaded. What is uploaded? This particular file. So uploaded file dot name. Okay, so this file is be uploaded, then a simple information, simple info, the doc ID of this file is doc ID, doc info, and here I need to get the doc ID. Okay, doc ID, and I also need to provide that who have the access for this. So again, doc info accessible to. Okay, this is done. Now what I need to do, I need to take care for this else statement. So if the status code is 200, else error race dot json dot get detail. Okay, and then simply we'll pass the message that's upload failed. Simple. Okay, and then for this, if for uploaded file, else ht warning, please upload a file. That's it. Okay, so this will help us to upload our document. Okay, now after that, so now for our chat interface, what we'll do, we'll define another function as chat interface. Okay, first again, simple subheader where we'll write that ask healthcare question, of course. Then here I need to take the message, so ht dot text input your query. Okay, now if user click the button after writing the query, if ht dot button this send, and if not message strip, like if not message dot strip mean key we don't have a message. Okay, so we need to pass a warning that please enter a query. Done. Okay, then simple will take the response requests dot, which just happens to be a post method. It will be request in the post method f string. We'll pass our API URL /chat. Here we'll pass the data that will be passing, message msg, and also need to pass the auth, get the auth. Here we go. Then again, what is to do, rest dot status code. If it is 200, then I'll show the reply res.json ht.markdown. So this is my sources. Not sources. First I need to provide the answer, right? So answer. Okay, now after markdown I need to show success, where I'll pass the reply, this reply with answer. Okay, now as we know that we also need to show the document from where we are retrieving this ID, right? Like we are retrieving this information. So answer, then to provide if reply dot get is a success, then if reply dot get and we have a sources, if we have a sources, then we also need to pass the source. So for src reply the sources ht dot write src. Okay, and finally we'll take care the else part href res dot json simple get function, under which I need to pass the detail. So a simple message, something is wrong, and you can make it more like understandable. Okay, and now need to add this in our main flow. So else markdown session state role. Now after that we need to somehow we want this session state. Okay, so I'll copy this. Now here what I'll do, under the markdown I'll have a button for logout. Okay, so ht dot button, where I'll keep my logout button. Okay, here I'll write this one. Need to use this. Okay, so ht dot session, it's a username. This will be blank because we are logging out. Password again will be blank. Role again will be blank, and this logged in should be in the first. This true should be false, and the mode should change into auth. Okay, otherwise if the user doesn't click on the logout button, then if ft session state dot role is admin, then he should get to see the upload docs function and then pass a simple divider to segregate, then use the chat interface. Otherwise, simple, just show the chat interface. Okay, and after uploading this we need to rerun this again, so rerun. All right, let's save this, come to our front end, refresh the page. Okay, so our admin name is what? SN Supratim, right? So SN Supratim, I'll pass PASS123. I'll log in with that. See, role admin, welcome SN Supratim, all those things. Doctor, let's upload something. Let's upload this PDF, plant epidemiology, which is pretty small. You can use long, no issue, up to 200 MB. And I want this available for, you know what, for nuts. Okay, for nuts. Upload in the document. If you see in the VS Code terminal, you should see that. You see, embedding 13 chunk, uploading to Pinecone. Okay. Okay, and this is the message that I uploaded this particular PDF, and this is the doc ID, and access is for nurse. Okay, let's ask some question if we can do that. So enter, send. Something is wrong because we are admin, we can't get the access, so even admin can't get the access. Now you can change this key, no user like admin can get access, but as per this application, admin won't be getting access. Okay, now nurse have got that, right? Now who was nurse is Nag. Password was 12345, I guess. Login. Okay, I think it's 4. Login. There is some error. Okay. Status. Oh, status code. The spelling is wrong. Okay. 19. Server auth. So in server auth routes line 19. This gotta be status code. Okay. So login. Again, a problem in details. There's lots of problem, all in the spelling. Sorry, details. Again, save. Again, pass the login. Let's see if I'm giving the password right. Okay, so sign up is not pass 1234. The password is wrong. So 1234, right? So is not pass 12345 actually. So 5. So if I see this, pass 12345, login. Okay, so role nurse, log out healthcare. So I should get to, I should have the access for plant epidemiology PDF. So what is plant epidemiology? Send. That's not right. That's not right. No, something is wrong here. So if status, see, if status code 20-0, there's gotta be 200. For God's sake. Now I'll send this. Sure, thank you. Oh, let me try this patient and nurse. Okay, so Rajesh was a patient. So Rajesh, password was 12345. Login. Rajesh has the access for plant epidemiology. So what is plant epidemiology? Send. Here we go. Here we go. Plant epidemiology. All right. So it's done. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now we need to deploy the application. That's it. Now for the deployment, we have render for our backend and Streamlit cloud for our frontend. Okay. So first, let me create a new repo as RBAC Medical Assistant. Okay. Create the repo. Here we go. Now come to VS Code. Now first thing I'll do, I'll create a git ignore. Okay. First thing first. First thing first is to omit our env files. So first let me use the git init. Okay. Now I'll write env save. Env is gone. .venv. venv is gone. Now that's, I don't need py cache in there, so py cache is gone. All right, let's register. Okay, here we go. Now what we need to do, we simply need to use git add everything, then git commit, first commit, right? Then branch is connected, like branch is set to main, repo is connected. Now the final push. Okay, here we go, the final push. All right, it's done. I'll refresh the page. Okay, so now I'll copy this URL, come to my render dashboard. Here I'll come to my this new web service, public git repository, pass this one, connect RBAC medical assistant, branch is okay, root directory will be server. Okay, server pip install. You don't have to use UV. Okay, you can easily use pip over here. Server Unicorn, this one would be UVCon main. Okay, that's okay. We'll be using free tire. Now the add env. Okay, I'll come over here. Where is my server? Here is my server. I'll copy this, paste it over here. That's it. Okay, API keys. Okay, I'll add the variable now. And before I deploy the web service, one thing that you have to do, otherwise your application won't work whenever you are using MongoDB, any cluster. Like come to this particular dashboard of your project cluster, right? Click on this network access and add a new IP address. Here, just click on this button as allow access from anyone. So what? Because see, when you are deploying, you have to make sure that that particular server can allow this particular MongoDB cluster, right? Because see, this includes your current IP address. I'll click on the deploy. It will take some time. Let's give some time. Now we'll come for the our front-end deployment. Okay, click on this create app, deploy a public app from GitHub repo. We'll copy this one, we'll paste this over here as well. So RBAC medical assistant is a main branch, main file path streamlit.py. No, it is client/main.py. Okay, now this huge name, let's make it short. So RBAC made bot. Okay, just to make it an easy understandable name. Advanced setting, here we need to add our this particular unv file, this particular .env file. Okay, like .env variable, paste it over here. Now here we need to add this backend, so you can just copy this backend, paste it over here. Okay, and simply save this one. There is some error. I think it's saying invalid format. Okay, all right, I need to give it in this format, right? So API URL, here I need to pass that. Here I'll pass my URL, this one, RBAC medical assistant on render, then save, then I'll deploy. Okay, now it's just a wait. I hope there won't be any issue in deployment in the backend. So running UVCon, and the reason I'm using this host 0, like this host 00 and port 10,000, because so that the server can access from any port. Okay, it's cooking. It's done. Okay, the front end is done, the backend service is live. Here we go. So now let's try it out. So first log in as our admin. So essence protein, password was pass123. See, role admin dash. Okay, let's see it with an uploading something. We'll upload a simple PDF. Let's upload this diabetes again. Okay, just to make sure. And this one will be for doctor. Upload the document. There shouldn't be any error. See, uploaded diabetes. All right, log out. Okay, so I'm not trying everything here. Okay, it's done properly. Okay, you see Pinecone 100%, all those TQDM progress bar. All right, so that was for this video, and hope you liked this one. And yeah, thanks for watching if you have come this far. Yeah, thanks for watching.